I bought this clean title, Supercharged Audi S4 at my local auction for half of what it would cost at a dealer, all because it was marked with a transmission issue. No additional detail was provided, and depending on the actual problem, we could get lucky and fix this for a few $100, but if not, we're looking at a near $5,000 transmission replacement, making this Audi a true auction mystery. I'm Sam Crack and I love a good auction gamble. The majority of the cars I buy are totally sight unseen, and like with any gamble, most of the time, the house wins. But I'm feeling pretty lucky coming off a hot streak with my recent C63 AMG score, which came with over $20,000 in high-end performance mods that went completely unnoticed by the selling bank. So if you're into auto auction bargain hunting as much as I am, be sure to subscribe by tapping the button below. Now this Audi is a great platform, one that's been overshadowed by its other German competitors. Its supercharged engine is known to be capable of over 500 horsepower with just a few simple mods that can be DIY'd in your home garage, while being decently reliable, well, except for the transmission issues, which we'll talk about in just a second. But looking at the auction photos, there's only really a few notable things. First off, the car has a cracked windshield, which isn't a big deal. It looks like it's overall pretty clean, and it definitely has a modified exhaust. So what's the chance that we luck out here again, finding thousands of dollars of added mods under the hood? Unfortunately, there was not a single underhood photo provided, and for a good reason. Now the Carfax report I generated shows an estimated retail price of $22,000 considering this car's clean history, and I won it at auction for about half that, likely because of its transmission warning. Now one of the reasons I really like this buy, it's one of the cars that is more realistic for you guys to replicate a deal on at home. Audi made a lot of cars with this drivetrain and with this transmission that is prone to a number of different faults, but if it was maintained well, again, it's decently reliable and it's a really great transmission, at least in my opinion. And there's one ordained fix by Audi that's actually pretty simple and it's pretty inexpensive. Now, there's a handful of different tests you can perform to figure out exactly what the fault is in your transmission. We're gonna go through those in this video. However, the smart thing to do would be perform these tests before you buy the car. I already bought the car, so it's too late for me. We're gonna head on over to the auction, pick it up, and see what we just got ourselves into. And not too big of a fan of this. Wouldn't really touch a C4 Corvette. However, something I would like to partake in is this Audi A8L with a front suspension issue. Either that or it's got some sort of really low lowering module. No, that's got a suspension issue for sure. Look at this thing. All right, we are in the vicinity of our S4. I am still looking all around for it. This is a massive auction lot, if you can't tell. And I'm using this app to figure out exactly where the car is. The car should just be in this group of cars that spans very long. Look, it's right here. There it is. Hidden behind all this stuff. That was, I swear, not planned at all. Cracked windshield and all. This is our car. Now, how in the heck am I supposed to get into it? Interior is actually like really super sweet. Got a little bit of peeling of looks like somebody just wrapped all this stuff black. That's not a big deal. Carbon lip. I wanted to see this. What do we have here? Oh, we have an aftermarket exhaust. We got to get in this car. We got to move it forward. Here's the next issue. Where in the heck are the keys? Keys? Yeah, how am I supposed to drive out here? Dude, this car has got some... What the heck is going on here? Look. At the other auctions, they're strapped around the steering wheel. I mean, I literally don't see a set of keys in this thing. Come on, keys. Oh, look at that, look. There's the keys. This is like a treasure hunt. Is that a key? What the hell is this? Oh, this is crazy. It's not a key. Okay, I think we're gonna have to get out of the car and call that special number, 1-800, help me find the keys. All right, stupidly, I just found out there is a push to start in the center console, so I move my way over to the passenger seat. Let me put my hand on the brake and see if it will work. There's definitely a key in here somewhere. All right. Where the hell's the key? Wow, that's a loud exhaust. Sounds all right. But where is the key? Seriously. Let me hop back in the driver's seat here and let's get this out of here. Figure out what we're working with. Oh, here we go. Gearbox malfunction. You can continue driving with limited functionality. Well, let's see what that does for us. The thing I really want to do is pop the hood and see if it's got any modifications, but there's no hood latch release. we'll figure that out, I'm sure. All right, so I'm curious. Let's just put this in manual mode while we're moving it slow, and you see it just stuck in D. So it probably doesn't want to let us choose. It's definitely holding a low gear, and it's not shifting up that I can feel. But then again, I am still just in a parking lot here, so we don't want to go too crazy. A good start in figuring out what might exactly be wrong with our transmission is to do a quick code read. We're going to do that utilizing Carly. This is something I've shown you on a ton of BMWs before, but it also has full dealer level diagnostic and coding on Volkswagens and Audis too. So we'll just plug it in the port there, and then we can launch the smartphone app here. All right, now let's do this quick code scan. This should tell us exactly what fault lies in our transmission system, and it should point to whether we need the cheap and easy $500 fix or the very labor-intensive and expensive $5,000 transmission replacement. Very bad. We have 55 issues found in all types of different systems. Now remember, we had that dead battery. That's definitely going to contribute to some of these codes. What I really want to see is this right here. In the transmission, it says that we have 3 current codes. This is one that looks familiar, P174A00, and it says electrical fault. That's probably why we're in a limp mode here. Let's keep going. Transmission control unit lock, that's probably related to our first code here. And last, see system voltage low, that's because we had our dead battery. Let's go back here. Let's check out what our engine module is telling us. Our engine control module is disabled. Again, that's probably electrical throttle, transfer fuel pump short circuit. Starter does not mechanically turn. Yeah, this is again, because remember that weak crank we have? That's why I would throw that code. Now there's a TSB, or a technical service bulletin, regarding electrical faults on Audis with the same dual clutch transmission as my S4. An Audi solution is to simply replace 2 circuit boards on the mechatronics unit, which is basically the transmission's brain. The TSB gives a list of very specific transmission trouble codes and recommends this repair if and only if you're experiencing our symptoms along with one or more of the codes provided in this list. You can see P174A is here, the same code that Carly found, which means we could be in luck here, but we also have a ton of additional electrical codes pointing to a low voltage issue, which is likely just a weak battery. And when diagnosing these cars with a ton of electronics, it's imperative that we start with a strong battery. So let's sort our battery issues before we continue with anything else. Now to see what we're working with here, whether we need to replace our battery or whether it just needs a quick charge, I've got this battery tester, which is really handy because it tests not only the voltage but the cranking amps. And so this is a really big battery. It's probably like an 800 or 900 cold cranking amp battery. I just set it to test at 700. You see here it says charge and retest. Our voltage is really low. This should be over 12. And then our cranking amps are only 262. That's why the crank is so weak on this car when you start it up. We're gonna stick this on the trickle charger. It might bring it back to life. It might not. So far, good news on the S4. When it comes to our wheel and tire, all that was wrong is that the bead, that's the glue that sticks the wheel to the tire, was broken. Resealed it for 10 bucks. My battery was indeed dead, but I went to the local battery store and I picked up a blem. Now, I've told you guys about this trick before. If you have a battery store, and I'm not talking about an auto parts store that carries batteries, it has to be a store dedicated to just batteries alone. Call them up and see if they carry blems. This battery right here is an AGM battery, and it was $55. Normally, these things are over 200 bucks at the auto parts store or the dealership, especially for this big H9 size right here. So let's go ahead, throw the wheel and tire on the car. We'll also go and install the battery in the trunk. That way we can take it on a drive and see how the transmission acts or if it gives us a problem. Fresh battery. And be interesting to see exactly how this reacts now with the new battery. Put our foot on the brake. And nothing. Really weird. Hold on, let me go check my battery connection. And oh, there comes the key again. Let me go check my battery and then I'll be right back. All right, let's try this again. I did find one little nut on the top connector. Not the main one, but another one that, yeah, had a little issue. So there we go. Starts right up. All right, awesome. We got our battery and our tire issue fixed pretty cheap. We're gonna head back to Carly really quick, clear our codes, and then we'll do a quick rescan and see if anything pops back up. And at this point, we should be able to take it on a drive and see how our transmission is acting. I think there's a slim chance that by clearing all these codes, we might be able to make our transmission functional again, at least temporarily. And if that's the case, that means that likely we just have that circuit board malfunction in the transmission. We don't have a bad transmission. I don't know. I'm just waiting here for this to finish because I want to see whether it makes our car drivable again. So I'm going to let this finish up. It just has a few minutes left, and then let's get in the car and drive it. All right, look, it's a radio code. So after clearing all the codes, only one came back. That's with key on position 2. You can see the dashboard is all lit up. A radio code, which is no big deal. Here, let's start it up. Foot on the brake. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Transmission fault. Check engine light's gone. Let's take it for a quick ride. Oh, shoot, right there. Tire pressure system. Okay, no big deal. Oh, there we go. Look, literally in what, 10 feet, it came right back. So let's rescan the codes. I'm sure it's going to be that same one. All right, so if you look what came right back, one transmission code, one ABS code, and we will look, it's the same one we had before, P174A00. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's see what ABS code came up with. Transmission control unit, which again is affiliated with our transmission code. That is exactly what we need to fix. As you can see here, diagnosing a mystery issue like the one we have here is just a ton of back and forth, but it's made a lot simpler with Carly. One of the other things I really like about this is if you do have a common issue, say like a coil pack misfire with a BMW, when you tap the specific trouble code on Carly, it'll actually bring up a bunch of help articles to tell you exactly what the problem might be and the parts you might need in order to repair it. I've been using Carly over a year now, and it saved me a ton of time and of course a lot of money versus going to the dealership. You see, like a diagnosis at the dealership would cost around $200, whereas the price of Carly plus a premium membership is way less than that. So it basically pays for itself on its first usage. If you want to see what Carly can do for your car, go ahead and click my link in the description box below. It is a tremendous asset if you have a BMW, Volkswagen, or Audi, but they're always expanding its capability through software updates. And make sure you use code SamCrack21 at checkout. That's going to get you 20% off your own Carly diagnostic tool. Now, in just a moment, we're going to use Carly to see if our S4 has any odometer rollback because they've got a really cool used car check feature. But I do want to thank Carly for saving me a ton of time and money away from the dealership and for also sponsoring this video. First off, when I stick the S4 in reverse, you can see it says reverse right here, and the car does work just fine in reverse, which is really good because some reports of transmission issues and failures on this car include a loss of reverse. So from a stop in drive, I'm going to drive this like I'd be driving any normal car. No hard accelerations or anything like that. All right, so there's our first gear shift. You see how long it takes to shift a gear? Here's our next gear shift. So if I'm just giving it very, very partial throttle, it does go into a higher gear and it does shift. It just takes a while. All right, we're accelerating, gear shift. There's the next gear shift. And geez, the drone is just awful in this thing. There's a reason why aftermarket exhausts come with mufflers in them. That's because they tune the sounds to actually make them sound nice. And why in the case of like muffler and resonator deletes, well, they just a lot of times don't end up sounding really good, at least not when you actually have to live with the car. So right now the car is not telling me what gear it's in, but as I'm driving a consistent 50 miles an hour, it's doing fine. It's obviously getting up to speed. And what I'm feeling is something that a lot of people have reported in this platform when they have a DSG issue, and that is that it's only selecting a half the gear. So I think the car starting out in first, and when it makes that shift that takes several seconds, it's actually shifting into third and not second. Now the way a DSG gearbox works, or dual clutch gearbox, is that there's one clutch for the even set of gears and another clutch for the odd set of gears. So again, according to our trouble code, it's an electrical failure. So the car just can't figure out how to shift. And I'm not 100% sure of this, but it could be just like a limp mode of sorts. So basically it's only selecting the first, third, fifth, and maybe even seventh gear. But here, we'll do it again really quick. That's first gear into the next gear. All right, here we go again. First gear. And then there's our next gear. One of the main reasons I don't think it is shifting into second, it's skipping second for third, is that when you give it gas, like right now, it just shifted. And there it goes again. It's very sluggish and it's at a very low RPM. It'd be like if you were in a manual and you went from first to third, you just don't get that power delivery then if you went into second and then into third. Another thing you'll notice is when you're trying to keep up with the flow of traffic, well, you'll put your foot down heavier and heavier to try to get up to speed, and it will want to downshift, but it can't find that next lower gear, so it's kind of confused, and then you end up letting your foot off the pedal, and then it will go back to the higher gear. I mean, it's definitely a mess, and there's something majorly wrong. So right now I'm going to put my foot down a little bit more, like I'm going to pass somebody, and you see it's going to downshift, but I can't figure out what to do. That really seems to confuse things. But as long as I keep my foot in a consistent position, say about a third down on the pedal, it drives pretty good. But the good news is there's no grinding, there's no major clunking. I mean, there's no mechanically failed sound in the transmission itself, and it's not slipping in and out of gear, which tells me it likely is an electrical failure, and hopefully that $500 circuit board fix is a good candidate for this specific car. I want to check out what the transmission fluid looks like and see if anybody has messed with it before. It did trade hands one time before me at the auction, and again, for somebody just to flip it back to the auction does raise a few red flags, but it's very possible they just didn't want to deal with any repairs. Coming back here, these exhaust tips that we initially spotted in the pictures, these are just some aftermarket tips. It's very clearly just a muffler delete. You could see where a shop just went and cut the mufflers that would have been located right here. What I really want to see is under the hood. Remember, we couldn't get under the hood because the latch was broken off, so I've got myself a set of pliers here, and that should help us pop this open. So no, I'm just kidding. Everybody thinks that I, do stuff like that. I think if we grab the wire, it should pop it. So let's see. All right, I'm gonna pull the latch from the inside with these pliers. Perfect. All right. Is it modded up like my C63? I mean, we want supercharger pulleys, air intakes. No, it looks completely stock. So this is the supercharged 3-liter V6. This is a stock intake box. When you replace these cars whine like Hellcats. This is the stock pulley. This cover should just pop off right here. And if I look really close, you're not gonna be able to see it, but it's definitely got a stock crank pulley. Those would be the major modifications someone would do on this car to gain power. The fact that it's stock, that means that our transmission is probably better than if it was heavily modded. The more power you have, the harder it is on the transmission. Let me take you inside where this car came with some really nice options and is really a nice spec. So if you look on the doors here, we got carbon fiber and Alcantara. I'm pretty sure this carbon fiber was an option, and then it extends in the center there. We've got a carbon fiber center console, and of course Recaro sport seats that came in all of the Audi S4s. They're really nice. Again, Alcantara in the middle. So the amount of car we're getting here for the money is insane. That is being that we can fix the transmission. The only other aftermarket thing I see on this is this really nice duckbill spoiler. It looks to be pretty decent. It's carbon fiber, but you can see how dirty it is. So let's go ahead, clean this car up really quick, and then we'll take it in the barn, drop the transmission fluid, and see what it looks like. days later, or that's what it felt like, I think that looks amazing. Sage, was it worth all the effort?
It was definitely worth it. It looks a lot better, a lot cleaner.
Yeah, I agree. All of that black plasti dip just covering everything. There was no contrast, and now this matches those beautiful brush mirror caps I'm obsessed with. I think they look great. Are you ready to do the wheels? No, we're gonna leave the wheels for right now. This is Sage, everybody. He's been helping me out with my projects as of late. That's his Camaro back there that he bought from the salvage auction and rebuilt. We'll see how long he lasts, man. The last guy, he quit after like 3 days. And
yeah, we're gonna have to see.
The fact that you've been pressure washing this for like several hours now. Anyway, this is good. It looks amazing now. Let's go ahead, get it in the barn behind that other unfinished project. Let's drop the trans fluid and see what we're in for. All right here is the drain pan, and what I don't like right off the bat is look at how clean it is. It looks perfect, like somebody just messed with it. If you look all around it, you know, we got regular dirt, regular wear everywhere else. I mean, overall, this car is really clean, and it came from southern states. Originally lived in Texas, now here in Florida. I guess if you look at the bolts that hold the pan in place, maybe they're a little dirty, but I mean, just look at the bottom of this pan. It looks perfect. Right here's our drain bolt, which also looks really nice and clean. What I want to do now is take this clean drain bucket I just went and got, specifically clean, and I want to take a sample of our DSG fluid, because if it looks nice and used, that's, again, a good sign. But if it looks like someone just changed it, that means we might be in for a big bill. Come on, I just want a little bit. It's starting to come here. There it goes. All right, just a little bit. First of all, I haven't done DSG fluid change in a long time, and DSG fluid is quite a bit different than regular trans fluid. That does smell different than regular red trans fluid. Let me see how much we got. We got a good amount. So let's take it out from under the car. I'm going to clean up, and we'll see if we see any metal shavings or if it looks super clean. It looked actually pretty clean just now. You see this? This is what we just pulled out of the gearbox, our little sample of fluid here, and there are metal shavings galore. Now, it's really not a great sign. I don't know if this fluid's ever been changed. It doesn't look super dirty, but it also doesn't look brand new either. So that in itself is a good sign, but all these metal shavings really aren't. So having that much glitter come out in the transmission fluid is a bit unsettling. But this car does run what's called a wet clutch system, which means that the clutches that are inside the transmission are actually submerged in the fluid. So the clutch pieces that come off of them as they wear are going to make their way into the fluid, get caught in the filters probably. But, you know, there's going to be a lot of that. So that's what we could be seeing. Let me know if you guys have a DSG, if you've done a DSG service in the past and seen those sort of particles in there, and if that's somewhat normal. Now, what I'm doing right now is the quick use car check. I'm pretty convinced we're going to spend the $500 for the OEM circuit board replacement at this point. I'm just going to do a quick use car check to make sure there's nothing really outrageous going on with this car. And it's really cool what Carly does here. So on the dashboard, we have 90,000 miles or so. And when we go to the used car check, which is almost finished, it's going to check every single module in this car that stores odometer data. So, you know, like we have a transmission module, an engine module. Basically, more than one module is counting the mileage. So if somebody just goes here and tries to reset the module that controls our gauge cluster, there's going to be other modules with a higher odometer reading in them. So Carly compares them all to one another. And if you see here, it found 3 different data points containing our mileage. And here's the used car report. 144,000 kilometers, which is right around 90,000 miles. No manipulation detected. Super cool feature, especially considering how many people are buying used cars right now. So if you're considering buying a used European car, definitely make sure you check out Carly. Bring it along with you. It's way cheaper than a pre-purchase inspection. So what do you guys think about the cheap Supercharged S4? And what are your thoughts about the budget circuit board replacement? One of the reasons I've done so many tests today and really felt this car out is because once you buy this $500 circuit board, well, it's yours. I mean, it's going to be soaked in transmission fluid, and plus you got to buy all the fluids and filters on top of it. So that's going to cost us an extra couple $100, but then we'll have an entire DSG fluid service, as well as a potential fix to our problem. And also, after I bought this car and I researched this problem and was convinced, well, we're just going to fix it with some circuit boards, I called a few people, somebody that has owned one of these cars, somebody that's worked on one of these cars, and the second they heard that I bought an auction DSG S4 with a transmission problem, the first things out of their mouth were, both of them, they said, well, you're just going to end up pulling that transmission and rebuilding it, or you could go buy a used one at a junkyard. And so it kind of startled me a little bit, but all signs are pointing to the mechatronics needing to be repaired and worst case be replaced. Now that is still a very expensive unit if we have to replace it. I'm going to do a little bit more research on that because I want to be prepared once we get that out of the car in case we see anything or in case these circuit boards do not repair the S4. If you've had any experience with this, please let me know down in the comments. I'm going to do overnight shipping on this so we can get another video out as soon as possible. If you're excited to see if our cheap fix fixes the Supercharged S4, go ahead and hit that like button. Also, if you're not already following me on Instagram, we're going to post updates about the S4 before anything goes live here on YouTube. Well, just go right here or click the link down in the description box below. Guys, I got to thank each and every one of you for watching today, and I'll catch you very soon.